Hello, welcome back to Mountaineer News 2, the only channel for advice. I'm your host and your only host. Today I'll be doing Week 1 predictions for the NFL. Now, if you're wondering about college football predictions for Week 2, well, I have to go somewhere tonight, so I won't be able to do the predictions this week. But however, college football predictions will be back for Week 2. Don't worry, college football predictions will be back, but this week we're going to focus on Week 1 of the NFL. And yes, football in the NFL is back. College football is back, but now it's going to be NFL that'll be back. Which means I can finally have something to do on the weekends instead of, well, going outside. But who cares? Now, Week 1, anything could really happen in the NFL in Week 1 because we really don't know what to expect. So, let's get started. And you're probably wondering, why did I do this yesterday when there was Chiefs and Ravens? Well, that was because I was also busy yesterday. So, don't complain. I was busy yesterday. Now let's move on. Starting with the first game coming from Brazil. I think that's how you pronounce it, Brazil. You got the Packers and the Eagles. Now this game, in my opinion, is going to be pretty interesting. First game in Brazil, and the Eagles left a really bad taste in our mouths after, well, they completely collapsed at the end of the season. Well, that's what you get for trusting Matt Patricia. So they rebooted, and they're trying to get things back on the show and get back to the Super Bowl that they lost to the Chiefs in. But then you have the up-and-coming Packers, led by Jordan Love and a young team. We will expect some pretty good standards for the Packers this year. The Packers stumbled upon another franchise QB. I can't believe it again. But however, they're going up against the Eagles. I do believe that the Packers will do everything they can to make this competitive. But in my opinion, I feel like the Eagles will be too much for the Packers to handle. So give me the Eagles over the Packers. Then we get to the Sunday games, and the first game we got Panthers-Saints. And, I mean, seriously. Do you really think I'm going to pick the Panthers? No! I'm taking the Saints to beat the Panthers pretty easily. Now, the Saints, I do believe, is a mediocre team, and I do believe that the Saints will be a mediocre team. But the Panthers, in my opinion, I feel like the Panthers got worse. Like, the Panthers probably got worse in the offseason. Thanks to David Tepper and their idiotic decision-making, the Panthers are probably going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL, and I would not be surprised if they get the number 1 overall pick again. So give me the Saints big. Now you got another interesting matchup. You got the Vikings and the Giants. Now, the Vikings lost J.J. McCarthy, and they lost a lot of key people to injury. So the Vikings are expected not to be good this year, and so are the Giants. I believe the Giants have probably one of the worst rosters in the NFL. I mean, talent-wise, because the Giants really have nothing. So, despite the Vikings' injuries, and despite, well, losing J.J. McCarthy and having Sam Darnold, I'm going to take the Vikings because, well, the Giants are going to be in free-for-all mode this year. And, really, I have no confidence in the Giants. So, give me the Vikings over the Giants. Then you got the Patriots versus the Bengals. Another pretty bad matchup on paper. The Bengals are trying to regroup themselves after Joe Burrow's injury and a very disappointing last season. But they finished 9-8 with a winning record, so that was the only plus side. Now, they're taking on a rebuilding Patriots team. So for me, this is probably the best matchup for the Bengals to have. I mean, you have a Patriots team where I don't know if this Drake May guy, I hope I said his name right, this Drake May guy is really the right person. The new Patriots head coach has to fill the void that Belichick left behind. And it's going to take a while to undo all of Bill Belichick's really bad front office decisions. So give me the Bengals. The Patriots are not going to be good for a while, so don't expect them to be back. Then you got the Steelers and Falcons, and before you're going to say, I'm going to be really biased because I'm wearing this, just to let you know, of course it's going to be ugly Steelers football, and it's going to be Mike Tomlin voodoo magic that helps us win. The Falcons are an interesting team in which they have a legitimate shot at winning their division, and I do believe that the Atlanta Falcons are going to be good this year, but remember, it's still, they have a new coach and they're trying to adjust into that momentum. And plus, the Steelers, despite the Steelers have Arthur Smith knows the Falcons. He could probably tell us a few plays that the Falcons are going to run against us. So, give me the Steelers over the Falcons. Then, you got the Texans versus the Colts. Texans and Colts. Now, the Texans are really high-flying with the C.J. Stroud fandom, which, yes, that's a real thing. But the Colts are also very good. And the Colts, you know, are going to hold a grudge after the ending of last season, how they were this close to winning the division, but however, because of one person dropping a ball, no division winner for them. Now, the Texans and Colts game, I do believe is going to be a high-scoring game. It's going to be filled with drama. And I do believe that Anthony Richardson is going to play pretty well. But we didn't really get to see too much of him because of his injury. So, with that and the uncertainty about Anthony Richardson, I'm going to take the Texans in this game. So, give me the Texans over the Colts. Then you got the Arizona Cardinals against the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Cardinals are also in a transition era. Like, you still have Kyler Murray, and you have Marvin Harrison Jr. now, and you're trying to rebuild your roster. But remember, you're going up against the Bills, which the Bills are in a mix of close to rebuilding, but still in contention. And they're in that lukewarm spot. But thankfully, they played the Cardinals, who are still in rebuild mode. So I got the Bills easily handling the Cardinals. Then you got the Tennessee Titans against the Chicago Bears. The Bears. The Bears are on the hype train again. Not that it worked out last year. The Bears are all like, yeah, Caleb Williams, he's going to lead us to a championship. Woo! Even though no quarterback for the Chicago Bears has ever been good. And not only that, but the Bears still have a lot of holes on certain positions on the team. So I don't expect them to be good overnight. And then you have a Titans team that's in rebuild mode, have a new head coach, but they have Will Levis there, but no Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's with the Ravens. And overall, I feel like this game is going to be a lot closer than what people will think. Remember, this is Caleb Williams' first game, and he's going up against an NFL defense for the first time. So, you would think that, well, it's going to be very close, which it will be. So, with that in mind, I have the Titans upsetting the Bears. Give me the Tennessee Titans. Then you got the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Miami Dolphins. The Jaguars. The Jaguars and Dolphins coming off of blowing their divisions and, well, a very disappointing end of their season. For the Jaguars, it was because of the curse of the terrible towel and Trevor Lawrence's fumbling and injury and Doug Peterson struggling to control. And the Dolphins because, well, they hate December. But in my opinion, this game is going to be a really good game. You have the Jaguars, who, after the disappointing end of last season, I do believe is definitely going to try to do a major bounce-back game. This is their trying a moment to try to say, hey, we're still in contention in the AFC South. You don't need to focus on the Texans. You can focus on us. Then you have the Dolphins, who finally feels like they can challenge the Buffalo Bills for the AFC East, presuming that they don't collapse. I went back and forth on this game. I do believe that this game will be close, but in the end, I'm going to take the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think the Jaguars will overpower Miami And plus, both of them are immune to Florida weather, so that takes away Miami's advantage. So give me Jacksonville over Miami. Now getting to the 4 p.m. games, you got the Denver Broncos versus the Seattle Seahawks. The Broncos trying to believe in Bo Nix again. They're having hope again. And the Seahawks, first game without Pete Carroll. The Seahawks had hired a new head coach. And, well, I do believe that the Seahawks have some juice in them for another potential wild card spot. But really, the Seahawks are still fading. And they're fading fast. And the Broncos, they still have a rookie QB. They're in rebuild mode. I don't know if Sean Payton's really going to be the coach that will get them to the promised land. So with that, I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks in this game. I feel like the Seattle Seahawks have more experience, and I feel like they have what it needs to win. So give me the Seahawks. Then you got the Raiders and Chargers. The Raiders, believing in their new head coach who had taken over after they fired Josh McDaniels. And the Chargers bring in Jim Harbaugh from Michigan. Now the Chargers, I do believe, is in a transition era as well. The Chargers really disappointed me. And I do believe that the Chargers can play better than this. Like, really? I mean, they still have a lot of talent, despite losing some pieces. The game is in Los Angeles, but it's going to feel more like a Raiders home game. But I'm optimistic for Jim Harbaugh. And they're going up against a Raiders team that are still a bit confused on who they want as quarterback. They're a bit confused, too. With that, I'm going to go with the Chargers in this case. So give me the Chargers. Then you got the Cowboys and Browns. The Cowboys, once again saying, like they say every year, this is our year, this is our year. When really it's not their year. Then you have the Cleveland Browns, who was really hoping that Deshaun Watson works out. But at this point, we have to acknowledge reality. Deshaun Watson is a failure. This was a really bad trade, and I think Cleveland's deeply regretting it. And with the cap hit that's going to hit soon, Cleveland may have to start gunning its team again, which would not be good for an insufferable and suffering fan base. So, the Cowboys. They re-signed CeeDee Lamb, so CeeDee Lamb will be playing. But Dak Prescott is also playing, but he's still having his contract grudges. The Cowboys, of course, always surrounded by attention in the media. Now, the game is in Cleveland. The dog pound will be ready for this one. So, despite what people are saying, I am leaning Cleveland, but my gut's telling me Dallas, so I'm going with Dallas. So I'm taking the Cowboys over the Browns. It's really nothing much. I'm taking the Cowboys, so give me the Cowboys. Then you get Washington Commanders and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. People are saying that the Commanders are going to be a lot better with Jalen Daniels as their new QB. They still have a little bit of talent, but in my opinion, the Commanders are still in rebuild mode. They finished 4-13 last year, but in my opinion, I feel like the Commanders may slightly improve, and they're playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, the Buccaneers are expected to have some regression, which I agree with, but I do believe that the Buccaneers are consistently better, and I do believe that Baker Mayfield will have a pretty good game. So give me the Bucs over the Commanders. Then you go into your primetime game and Monday night game. First, you got the Lions and the Rams. The game's in Detroit. Rematch of the playoff game last year, and it's Stafford versus Goff. And the Lions, in my opinion, are probably doing a more all-in push than the Cowboys are. And really, the Lions are one of the most complete teams in football. And I really think that this may be the year the Lions win the Super Bowl. Apart from the Steelers. And then you have the Rams, which have a new era after Aaron Donald retired, like Puka Nacua, and still have Cooper Kupp on the team. And yeah, I do think it will be an entertaining matchup, but I'm going to give the W to the Lions here. I feel like the Lions are definitely Super Bowl contenders, and I will give the W to the Lions. So give me the Lions. And finally, rounding it all up, we got the New York Jets against the San Francisco 49ers. The Jets, similar around the mark of when Aaron Rodgers got injured, near the 1-year anniversary. But they're going up against the 49ers, and people are saying the Jets are, well, playoff contenders and division contenders and even Super Bowl contenders, but really no. The 49ers have this feeling. Like, to the 49ers, this is their last shot. And I'm going to say here, this is their last shot with the current core to win a Super Bowl. If they fail here, then the 49ers are definitely going to gut some pieces. I mean, you can't really reload too much. So, they're going to have that fire in them. So, give me the 49ers over the Jets. And that is my Week 1 predictions in the NFL. Hopefully, they'll turn out well, and I'll see you all very soon. Later.